roll it out. And then like 2 weeks later, boom, they've got it. A week later, boom, they've got it. And of course, I use that to drive our team. And there's so many great stories. I mean, we had like 400 Chinese nationals in Silicon Valley at our offices in San Francisco. We had a whole floor for the China growth team.
Hold on. Crack, if you want to come up here, because this is kind of like in your lane here, love to get your perspective if you have time.
And it was primarily Chinese nationals. We had billboards on the 101 in Silicon Valley in Chinese. Uber billboards to join our Chinese.
Crack, is that true?
To serve the homeland, right? Mm-hmm. It was like an all-out war. It was really epic. It was epic. And by the way, when you went to that floor in our office, you were in China. Like they rolled China style. Like that's the awesome. Desks were literally smaller. Like the density of the space was China. Okay. So, but what happens is when you get really, really good at copying, and that time gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, you eventually run out of things to copy. And then it flips
to creativity
and innovation. Now at the beginning, you know, it's sort of all over the place. Like the kind of innovation when it was new was like, what? You know, you're like, really? But as they exercise that muscle, it gets better and better and better. So if you want to know about the future of food, like online food delivery, you don't go to New York City. You go to Shanghai, right?
What's an example like something really innovative they're doing?
Doesn't Meituan do drone delivery and stuff?
Like here's an example. If you went to offices like let's say Shanghai, Beijing, any of the major cities, Hangzhou, etc., the office buildings have hundreds of lockers around their perimeter, so that everything that you get, whether it be food or anything else, but especially food, is just the couriers drop them off in these lockers at the office buildings. And then there are a whole other set of people that are sort of like inter-office runners that then bring it to your office. As an example, like, and when you see it, you're like, and it's epically efficient. And it's, you know, they're taking advantage of their economics on labor and things like this. It wouldn't exactly work that way here. But a lot of the innovation you will see coming out on Uber Eats or DoorDash, like the stuff that's coming out now is stuff that existed 3 years ago, 4 years ago in China, maybe longer. So like eventually you cross that threshold of copying and you are innovating, and then you're leading. And I think we see that in a whole bunch of different places.
Yeah, here's a look at these smart lockers that you can see. You're just available for sale when you go online. But yeah, these things are crazy. And you've experimented with those as well. Didn't you have like a commissary concept in DTLA?
Well, look, so we got a couple things. So we have in every one of our facilities, and we've got, you know, hundreds of them. We'll have lockers there so that the courier then waves their phone in front of a camera. The right locker pops open, they get the food from there and they go. The courier pickup is asynchronous from production of food. You don't have lines anymore. There's no more lines, which then speeds up delivery, shortens the amount of time, it reduces how much money you spend on couriers. And we've got a whole other thing. This doesn't work it probably wouldn't work in China because, well, for a lot of reasons, but let me explain what it is. It's called Picnic, where if you are in an office building, you order food, you go to a website, you order whatever it is from 100 different restaurants. Those restaurants happen to be in my facilities. And there'll be one courier that goes to one of our facilities and picks up 50 orders at a time, brings it to an office, there's a shelf on every floor. You get notified when your food arrives, and it arrives the same time every day. And you just go to the shelf, get it on your floor, and dip it right back into your meeting, saving people time at the office, giving them selection on food, especially in food deserts. But even going, like there's a Sweetgreen right down there in my office right now. I could save 20 minutes by just using our own service versus doing that. And you get it at the same price because the courier economics, the courier is delivering 50 orders at a time. So courier costs go basically to zero.
Smart. What's up, Crack?
Yeah, what's up? Where's John go? I thought he wanted to talk to me.
Yeah, I'm here, man. There's a lot to unpack there, Crack. Oh shit. The Chinese offices, the just turning the offices Chinese once you get so many of them, the Chinese advertising in the San Francisco area.
I mean, this is normal H-1B stuff. That's what happens when you get H-1Bs. They just take over everything. So, yeah, my work, like a lot of the lower technicians were all Vietnamese. Once you got a Vietnamese boss, they would take and hire all the Vietnamese. Then you have like a layer that's like Indian. Then you have another layer that might be Chinese. And if you go into a big office that has a large contingent of both Indians and Chinese, they'll start like having wars with each other in the corporate, like inside, because they're vying for the CEO gig. And that's why most, so who's going to be the Chinese CEO? Actually, all the semiconductor companies now that we see are now Chinese CEOs. Intel CEO has just been announced. We have a new one. He is Malaysian Chinese. So they are taking so we are going to have a battle eventually. So that's why it's like, you have a war. You think it's a war against America versus China. It's just a war of overseas Chinese versus mainland Chinese. That's just what it is. There's no America versus China. It's just mainland Chinese versus overseas. So it's just like different forms of Chinese fighting each other. Then later on, we'll have a war between Indians and different forms of Chinese or different forms of Indians. And then that's what it is. Just a big population of people. So you're just eventually just gonna get subsumed under these like crazier and crazier like fights and battles and turf wars.
The first thing I want to ask you is, he mentioned something that I thought was very interesting. Most people think of Chinese as just copying things, right?
Okay.
But he said they reach a point where they begin to innovate, and he says all the innovation eventually comes out of there, right?
Right. And that's what Elon had. That's what Elon learned. All his processes for his factories, he took from Shanghai and Beijing. So all his factories there, he took those managers and some employees there. Go to Texas and train and retrain everyone in the Texas factory. Yeah, whatever they improved, they shipped it back over here. Yeah.
Did you see any of those road signs when you were living, those billboards, those Chinese billboards when you were in?
I don't pay attention to billboards. Yeah, I try not to. Like you have the digital ones, right? They just flicker. They just cycle through a whole bunch of different ones. I don't know. If it's in Chinese, I wouldn't be able to read it. So.
Yeah, it's very interesting though. Because I've always thought of the Chinese and based on propaganda, they just copy everything. But he's saying they lead innovation. They reach a plateau in copying.
Yeah, at a certain point they have to. Yeah. And I mean, this is a necessity. You will have to, and that's why I said like in one of those CT streams, our stream, like China used to ban sci-fi, okay, because sci-fi like as a fiction literature could be used as a weapon against the CCP because it's a veiled, like, you just use allegories, just like Star Trek, went against it's kind of like racism and stuff. They would just use it as a veiled criticism of the Communist Party. They didn't want that. That's why they also ban like ghost stories too and other things. So they ban anything with horror over there, like sci-fi, and they don't want anything to be like to be any kind of veiled like criticism against them. But they relented like 10 something years ago. They said, okay, that's why you have the 3-body problem. You see that? You have the 3-body problem. That's all over like American TV right now too, right? It's from Tencent. And then they all brought it back here. And then they also have the Netflix version of 3-body problem. That's a Chinese sci-fi. Why did they do that? Because they realized that the Steve Jobs, the Bill Gates, all those people, when they interviewed all these engineers from America, they said, why did you get into engineering? Because I read sci-fi. Sci-fi wanted me so they read a lot of sci-fi, they watched a lot of sci-fi. That's why we have, and that's why another couple shows ago, that's why I talked about it. I said I believe sci-fi, was a tool for propaganda in America during the Cold War to kind of make people want to be engineers. Because otherwise, if you just told people, hey, we don't want to go to the moon, we just want to build better rockets to shoot at Russia, nobody would do that. They want to have uplifting moral reason for being an engineer. Engineering doesn't pay well, honestly. I got paid a lot, but how much work did I have to do to get that money? way more than just being a guy in finance or any other type of like executive position where I don't have to think that much. Engineering is too hard, way too hard.
Craig, I got a question for you. It's kind of an engineering question. You mentioned something about processes and shit like that. The CEO of Uber mentioned the labor costs in China that allows them to do some things. And Phoenix Fish is saying, how can a courier deliver 50 orders? I want my food hot. The CEO of Uber said they can use this to drive costs damn near to zero. Did you hear him say that?
Yeah, right.
And I mean, that's a hell of a pressure on. That's going to be a hell of a pressure on wages, and that they are pursuing a damn near zero cost in delivery. Someone's going to have to be squeezed there, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, but I think like if you go to China, you'll see the mentality. It's like they're so used to living off of like barely any wages, you know. It's just kind of like a mentality thing. I have no idea if it's a propaganda like mindset that they got going that kind of makes them like built up. But you know, you saw in COVID, eventually it just boils over. Like people get pissed. You can't push people that far. Eventually people just get mad, you know. So yeah. I think COVID was a good test for China. They saw like how far they could take people, like how far they could lock people up in a Foxconn factory just to work on making iPhones while they still are under COVID lockdowns. Like they were still on COVID lockdowns, and then they forced them into the factory anyway just to make phones for us, you know, for the West.
Someone says black people don't like sci-fi, which is why we're at the bottom.
Yeah, well.
Do you think there's some sci-fi in progress? I don't watch sci-fi.
I mean, you watch CT. CT always tries to bring up sci-fi, and I guess that's the point he always tries to make. Look at the shows that we do on sci-fi; it's so low viewership. We're just going to talk about blackity black stuff again and get 300 viewers again instead of 50 viewers if I talked about Star Wars and Star Trek. I mean, I don't know if it's just an inside joke that he's doing or whatever, but I don't know. I don't really know. I think, it's just a theory of mine that I feel like, you know, sci-fi was used during the 60s a lot and 70s just to cultivate that. And now that they don't need it, right? We have AI. You can see like it's not so important anymore. That like you saw the poll, right? Kids, what do you want to be as you grow up? And they polled like UK kids and US kids, and all of them said we want to be influencers.
Yep.
At the bottom was astronaut, and then China was like astronaut was number one. Yeah, so they're going because they need that like high tech workforce now in China. They don't need all that low wage, low nothing like pick up the rice from the floor type jobs. They don't want that anymore. They don't want that.
I see where you go with the engineering thing too. Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense now. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Very interesting. I think we need to wrap up. University got to get ready, get out of here. HB probably on the road somewhere, ready to drop a load. Midlife, I'm sure you guys. All right, you guys, you can have a
Yeah. Any final thoughts? Midlife Bro Logic. Thanks for coming by today. Any final thoughts from you?
Great show. Is this like 5 days a week? Is there a schedule on this show? What's the plan here?
Yeah, we're working it out. We can probably do a couple times a week. We'll get a rotation here in a moment.
You gotta get permission from your father, Universal.
Yeah, no, I gotta go ask my daddy Stanley if I can do this show.
Don't be mediocre.
He's a little upset. I'm too mediocre to be on this network. Apparently.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for highlighting me. I certainly appreciate it. You got my number, John. Let's hook up. Let's do the show. We'll meet in person when the time is right.
Hey,
Midlife will come around. What's up?
Midlife, before you leave, go ahead. Finish what you said, but don't leave yet.
Yeah. Okay. I had a great time. This is great. This is The View for dudes. I love it. You need a diversity hire. I'll be your Star Jones or whatever it is. So thanks for that. Let's wrap it up. As far as other people coming into the workplace, look out for the Filipinos, because if you get a Filipino workforce, they start to get too comfortable and then they start to microwave their fish, and it's gross. So be careful of that.
We don't need that.
Before you go, I want to tell you. I've been thinking about doing like an industry night. You ever heard of an industry night here in DC?
I mean, that's for like chefs and
Yeah, like chefs and bartenders and
yeah,
shit like
I
that.
used to cook actually for years.
Yeah, so you understand exactly where I'm going with this. So I was thinking about doing like an industry night for content creators. Man, I had some interesting thoughts yesterday. I don't know if you were listening, Crack. I don't know if you were listening, but I've mentioned it before, and I think I can take it. We can take it a little bit further. If all of us would have put our heads together, Universal, he was up on the panel. I was thinking like, most of these streamers don't own their audience or anything like that. They just own the super chats and the cash apps or whatever they get. But one of the big things that they could monetize by way of their audience is redirects, right? It could be an auction place strictly for redirects. Hey, I just finished my stream. Who wants my overflow audience? You could pitch it to your audience before you end the stream. There could be a marketplace for redirects. Big streamers could probably pick up.
Man, John, why you come up with all these great ideas, man? You are crazy.
No, listen, John. This is it's a good idea. Of course, my numbers suck. No one's going to pay me anything. What's my market share? But if you look at do you know who's this?
Hold on. Your numbers suck, which means you be in the market to what? Universal.
Oh yeah, to buy from somebody. But I mean, are your numbers that? I mean, you have better numbers. Sure.
But I'm not talking about me. There are a lot of. I'm not the only one out here.
There's a lot of creators.
Yeah, millions of creators. You know that. They'll use it just up on Themis' channel.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't better off buying his audience and showing up there. Hell, you say you lost two damn subs.
2 subs,
right?
Yeah.
Better than yet, you probably been better off not even going there. It's not a viable audience for you. And buy your audience where they're of more quality. And that is what I'm thinking about, a redirect marketplace where big streamers could sell off their audience as they get ready to close out the show. Hey, I'm about to be.
Hold on. Let me add on to that. Do you know Star Report? You know that guy?
Yeah, we talked about him yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know what his rates are, but he'll advertise you for a price. You can like get in contact with him, and if you want to be on his panel, you actually have to pay.
Yeah. I mean,
It's pretty affordable.
We
It's
talk
affordable.
about, but I'm thinking about not just him, but that's a good idea. But you think about all the people that are in their shows and they just let their audience go out into the ether and let YouTube's algorithm decide. Here's a way for the streamers to take control of their audience, right? And say, hey, I'll send them to you for $100. I bet you some big streamers could probably make $1,000 a week just off ending their streams and redirecting, right? And that's directly paid, not some 40 days later and your video wasn't demonetized type shit. You're gonna get that money immediate. It would be a hell of a marketplace, honestly.
No, I could see that. It would be the same as just having them on as a guest, but I could see that. I mean, even me, sometimes I end a stream, I have a few people, I'll direct them to a friend if a friend's on. Like I'll see who's live. Like right now, you should just look and see like who's live. Whoever you're friendly with there, and maybe send them.
Right. But that's the idea. So if you create a network, John goes, let's say I'm live next, right? And I wasn't on the show. John said, we're going to bring in Universal. Universal, come on in and tell us about what you're about to talk about in the next 15 minutes. Me and John have a conversation. Then John says, all right, everybody, go over to Universal's channel, continue the conversation there. I'm going to be there for the next 5 minutes, and he's going to take over. And boom. But me and John in the background, I paid John $150 for him to do that twice a week.
Right. And then, just like club promotions.
Right.
Floyd Mayweather may walk through your club and get paid $1 million. Right. And that's, the streamers could definitely take advantage of that and do that themselves and monetize their audience. Because when their audience leaves, they don't make any money off them. Here's an opportunity to make some money on them walking out the door. You redirect. I mean, that's business 101, actually, if you think about it.
I mean, I would, if I could find someone who is adjacent, like fan wise, who might like me. I mean, I would definitely. I'm not against. I'm not going to buy subs and views, but I would pay to be on someone's show if I thought it would bring me like real fans. You know what I mean? They just have to be adjacent to your content, unlike Themis, where no one liked me. They all hated me, and they hated me so much they didn't even want to hate watch me, which is like insane. At least can you subscribe and hate watch, but I guess not.
Yeah. Well, you've only been on there once, right?
I'm done.
Yeah, you,
One and
you
done.
go on there. You go on there 2 or 3 more times because again, you have to see people several times before you start committing to them too. So, there's some human psychology pieces in there as well.
Yeah, and Barnes, maybe just turn off the comments, man. Just sound like the comments really got to you, man. Just click
A little
them
bit.
off, man.
A little
Just
bit.
click them off, man. just click the comments off.
They're my fans, man.
Turn them off, man. Don't watch the comments, man.
Okay, thanks for the advice. I appreciate all your guys' advice. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. We got your back, man.
We're gonna do an industry night, Barney. I hope you come up some next.
Let me know, bro. You got my number. You still didn't confirm you got my damn WhatsApp. So, I don't know what the problem is here.
Man,
You gotta understand, John has like a million things going on in his head at once.
Smoking too much weed.
Yeah. I don't know if the weed is helping. I don't know. It's
not
there.
helping.
We gotta
It's not
accept
helping.
it.
You
So
need to
just
join
know
MA,
you know.
marijuana anonymous.
We might be doing those too.
The weed is slowing down his mind because he's just too high functioning.
You know why?
He has
You send it to let me see if I can get it this way. I think you send it to WhatsApp using that fucking number up here on the screen.
Yeah.
Send a text to that number instead of WhatsApp. That way I'll get it because that number is not registered on my WhatsApp. That's why I didn't get it. That's
I sent you a text the other day.
Oh, you did? Let me search for it.
Yeah, I sent you 2. I mean, I'm trying to get in touch with you.
You put your name in there?
I said Barnabas. Yo, there's Jack Talcott. He's a legend. Thanks for pulling
Hey,
up,
what's
Jack.
up, Jack? Yeah, I know about him. I don't. Yeah,
I never
He's a
heard
legend.
Jack.
Barnabas. I don't fucking see. Barnabas?
Yo,
Don't
Barnabas.
Don't take it personal, Barnes. John is he's working on he's got a hydrogen collider in his backyard, man. John's working on.
No, but John's. It's like he's one of these.